CBS News chief Washington correspondent and host of Face the Nation, Bob Schieffer. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Maggie.
Bob, if we look at the president's approval rating, the recent election of the Republican Scott Brown in Massachusetts, clearly Americans are trying to send the president a message. Is this response enough, you think?
Well, I was thinking about this. It's almost like somebody goes to the doctor for a hearing test, and the president is saying, look, I hear you. My hearing is okay. And I think what you're going to see this State of the Union message geared to is that theme. The president, the White House, sort of in the Bill Clinton way, shares the pain of those out there that are worried about deficits. You know, Maggie, the interesting thing to me about this freeze on all programs except the entitlement programs, Medicare, Medicaid, and also government spending is how little of the deficit, how little of the federal budget it covers. I thought there was one paragraph in the New York Times story of this morning that really kind of summed it up. It said the payoff in budget savings would be small relative to the deficit. The estimated $250 billion in savings, $250 billion over 10 years would be less than 3% of the roughly $9 trillion in new debt that will accrue over the next 10 years. That shows you just how massive these sums are that we're talking about. I think it's probably good politics for the president to announce this, that he's going to put this freeze in. Whether he can get it passed in an election year when all of these people that are running for re-election in the Congress are out there with their political survival at stake, I think is another matter. He may get a freeze in some of these programs. I think it's going to be very difficult for him to get a freeze in all of them that he's talking about.
Because because voters are paying attention, and the economy is clearly the number one issue, not necessarily health care anymore.
Yes, I think that is absolutely correct. But, you know, everybody wants to cut the deficit. Everybody wants to cut spending. They don't want to cut the spending of their pet programs. And that's where the rubber will hit the road on all this. And speaking of health care, Maggie.
Then won't Democrats pay for that in the midterm election?
Well, they may or they may not. If they don't get those programs that the folks back in the home district are worried about and the ones they want, they may take it out on the congressman. They may penalize them for cutting spending rather than trying to save money. And speaking of health care, I think we're not going to hear about health care. I think you're going to hear a lot about health care in the State of the Union message, but I don't think you're going to see any significant proposal brought to the Congress to vote on for a while yet.
That is a major shift. Bob Schieffer in Washington. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you so much, Meg.
You're welcome.